Welcome friends to Start Select, the show that takes you on a special tour of the UK gaming scene. I'm Guy Cocker and she's Jane Douglas, and a happy bonfire night to you all. It's time to light the blue touch paper and stand well back as we take you through
a one-on-one with French developer Eden, in which we hear all about the upcoming open world racer Test Drive Unlimited 2.
A real-life hot pursuit around Long Cross Test Track, ahead of talking to an EA bod about Need for Speed Hot Pursuit.
And the ongoing adventures of our epic gaming PC build. This week, Mark constructs the custom case in which all that high-end hardware is going to live.
Also coming up on this episode of Start Select, we run down the week's hottest new releases and give away Rock Band 3. First up, time to look at some of this week's news. Remember, you can check out these stories in depth and many more over at gamespot.com/news. And the first piece that I've picked out is the biggest story of the week, if not the year, I think, Jane. Michael Jackson glove packed in with the Wii version of his Experience game. Ubisoft, the publisher, has announced an initiative for getting Wii owners to purchase copies of Michael Jackson The Experience in advance by saying it will pack in a replica of the King of Pop's iconic rhinestone-studded glove. It won't cost any more, which is a nice incentive, but it'll only be available with launch versions of the game, so don't wait beyond the first batch when they arrive. So Jane, if this wasn't already a first day purchase for you, is it now?
Insta-buy, right.
It's an insta-buy.
Totally. Yeah, I'm going to get two.
Get two?
Dance with, it's a dance game, right,
yeah.
To be clear. Can dance with the glove on each hand.
Yeah, Billie Jean,
yeah.
Get your Billie Jean on?
Yes, certainly.
And many more.
And many more, you would imagine. Yeah. So that's the Wii version only, because the Xbox version with Kinect and the PlayStation version with Move both been pushed back into early next year.
Yeah, Xbox Kinect and PlayStation 3 next year, Wii version in November. Anyway, that's enough Michael Jackson. You've pulled out a bigger news story.
It's just the UK sales chart for this week, and Lionhead's newly launched Fable 3 landed first place in the sales chart for the week ending October 30th, with FIFA 11 in second and Fallout New Vegas, last week's number 1, dropping into third. Meanwhile, Star Wars The Force Unleashed 2, WWE SmackDown vs Raw 2011, and The Sims 3, which are the 3 other new entries in the top 10, came in at 5, 7 and 9 respectively, so a lot of movers in the top 10. But bad news for MTV Games, because Rock Band 3, also released last Friday, hasn't broken the top 20. It's made its chart debut at number 26, despite some pretty good reviews.
That's the end of the music genre then.
It's dead, the dream is over.
It's all gone. It's the lowest charting game from the Rock Band stable to date. Rock Band, Beatles and Green Day did better than that.
Did pretty well actually, yeah, much better than 26.
And this is, this is with all of the new instruments. The guys at Harmonix are saying that the music genre hasn't peaked yet, but do we feel that this is kind of it?
Well, there is a lot of focus on the hardware, so possibly maybe sales of the bundles, the hardware bundles, will pick up towards Christmas. Maybe they're better presents than, kind of day one purchases, possibly. Or maybe, like you say, Rock Band is, music games are a little bit over. I guess we'll see. At least boxed music games, perhaps not for the downloadable stuff.
So we covered Fable 3 Kingmaker a couple of weeks ago. The game's subsequently been released, gone straight in at number 1.
Pretty well, yeah.
Probably what we expected. This has got to make Molyneux happy, despite some of the good reviews. Not so much great reviews this time around.
It had quite a few good reviews. I mean, I think we gave it a 7.5. But I don't think Molyneux would be disappointed with the number 1.
He's happy. More games with dogs coming, I feel, no doubt. All right, that's it for this week's news, but that's not all. You can go and check out gamespot.com/news for all those stories, as well as many more.
Test Drive Unlimited 2 is set to expand on the open world racing of the original game, which was released all the way back in 2006. We met with the French developer Eden to find out more.
My name's Vince Farquharson. I'm executive producer for Atari, and I'm based in our Eden Games studio in Lyon, France, working on Test Drive Unlimited 2. Test Drive Unlimited 2, obviously a sequel to Test Drive Unlimited 1. So there was a number of things that game did that we were obviously looking to build upon. So it was one of the first games really to have this kind of idea of having a single player and a multiplayer experience which sort of blended. So you didn't pick single player or pick multiplayer. You just started the game, you're playing your single player campaign, and you come across other players in multiplayer games and you can kind of interact with them. So we're doing a lot of that again. Obviously improving upon the single player, improving upon the multiplayer. It was an open world game, which meant a couple of things. So it was open world in terms of you could see to the horizon, you could see off the road and across the mountains and that sort of stuff. But you could actually drive there. It wasn't just what you could see see. It was physically being drawn. You could interact with it. You could go wherever you wanted, which was quite unique. Now we've got Ibiza and Hawaii in there, so we've now got over 3,000 kilometres of road with the two different islands there having different types of terrain as well. And we've also got 900 kilometres of off-road for the new off-road vehicles that we've got in the game, which weren't in there before. When you're in the game world, you only ever actually see 8 people at any one time, but because you're moving around and those 8 people are changing, to the player it's kind of as if you're seeing hundreds. And like I say, you can kind of favour which ones you see as well. So it feels like a big populated world, even though we're doing, developer magic to make sure we can still draw lovely cars. We've got the out of car mode now, which is completely new, so we call that avatar mode. It means you can kind of get out, interact with people. You have an avatar that you can dress and kind of, interact and talk with people in any kind of shared space. Like if you're going to a driving school, you're going to be meeting other players in that driving school. If you're going to a shop, you're going to meet other players in the shop, so that's quite fun. For this game, we've completely rebuilt the handling model, the handling physics from complete scratch. The one we used in the first game was kind of what would be used on previous Eden games, so the V-Rally games, if people are familiar with those, it was used on that. But what this new model has allowed us to do is be much more flexible in terms of what we can do, and that's the reason that we've been able to do the off-road vehicles, which weren't really going to work with the old handling model. And the other thing we've been able to do as well is kind of catch a nice balance between this arcade and simulation handling, which we've always tried to do. So the first game was like halfway in between, exactly down the middle. What this game now allows us to do is the same, but the simulation is much stronger, so we allow players to kind of tweak it a bit and they can go much more into the simulation and have it feel more realistic. Likewise, push it back down into the arcade if that's what they prefer, and still have it based on a really sound physical model and feel credible. If we do bikes, we're going to put as much time and effort into doing the bikes as we did to doing the new car model, and that would be effectively like a whole mini project in itself. So we didn't want to just throw them in and get them out for launch. It was, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it right, we're going to do it properly. And if the players ask for it and want it, then it'll be on our plans to do. But one of the things we really want to do is encourage players to interact with us and tell us what they think should be going in there. So there's this kind of flexibility that we have in the plan at the moment that will become clearer once players start playing it and tell us what they want. It's got a levelling system sort of akin to a traditional MMO, I guess. So in the box product that we ship, we've basically got 60 levels, and there's 4 different aspects that you can kind of use to power up those levels, if you will. We've got the competition, which is the obvious stuff, the head-to-head racing, that side of things. We've got the social aspect, which is just meeting with people, hanging out with people. You can score points for that. We've got discovery, which is like discovering the roads, discovering parts of the island, and collection. So the more cars you get, the more houses you get, and all of those have their own individual levels, but they all feed into a global level, which the players then power up as they go through the games. It's not just about driving the car, it's about the lifestyle of someone who can afford to buy this car and drive it. So we try and emulate all that. So you've got the cool car with its amazing performance, and you can go into races with it, but you also have the house that goes with it, the clothes that goes with it, the lifestyle that goes with it, and the social group and prestige that goes with it. It's about trying to emulate the whole package. Test Drive Unlimited 2 is coming to PS3, Xbox 360 and PC in Q1 2011.
The new Need for Speed is shaping up to be damn sexy, and we caught up with EA's Vice President, Patrick Sutherland, to find out why it deserves our pennies.
This is Jane Douglas for GameSpot UK inside a Seacrest County Lamborghini police car. We're here at Longcross Test Track where we're about to try out some real-life hot pursuits ahead of checking out EA's Need for Speed Hot Pursuit the game. Here to talk about Need for Speed Hot Pursuit, Patrick's elite driving skills notwithstanding. So you were talking earlier about the Need for Speed franchise and how it lost its way a little bit. You said EA was beating up the franchise a little. What did you mean by that, and how is Hot Pursuit going to bring it all back?
Well, I think as a leader inside of EA, we need to be honest to ourselves and say, okay, this wasn't really working. The strategy that we had wasn't particularly effective. We were delivering products that were suffering quality-wise, and that obviously had an effect on sales. And ultimately, the only way back up is to reboot the franchise, do something that the audience will respect and like, and then hopefully the sales will follow. So it wasn't that hard, to be honest. It was like, I spoke to my boss about it, and we mutually agreed that we need to have a developer that can work on the game for a longer time. So, obviously you need about 2 years to make a high quality experience, and we then decided to put several developers onto Need for Speed so we can do that.
And so part of the process was bringing in Criterion, who have a great pedigree, obviously, well known for the Burnout games. How much of Burnout's DNA is in Hot Pursuit?
I mean, obviously, if it comes from Criterion, it's going to have parts and pieces from Burnout that you will recognize from the Burnout series. But I do think that it's important to state that this is kind of Criterion's take on Need for Speed, which will mean a couple of things. It will mean that it's an arcade action experience. It will mean that it's beautiful, but it's relatively easy to pick up and play, which I think is key to a lot of consumers today. And obviously then bolt on top of that Need for Speed tenant, like the stuff that with the exotic licensed cars, the beautiful world, the cops and the racer side of the game, and then on top of that Autolog, and then you have a relatively interesting package, I think.
Okay, Autolog is the social networking hub. Tell us a bit about it.
Well, it's an idea that came from Criterion, where they wanted to basically craft for lack of a better word, a driver version of Facebook, that's in the game. So you log into Autolog and Autolog, and then you will find friends that are online playing the game, and you can add them, and then you can compare data with them. You can show them photos that you've taken in the game. You can challenge them. They can challenge you. They get to beat your best times. And the cool thing about Autolog is that you will get information served from Autolog continuously, even if you're playing single player, as long as your system is connected online.
All right, fantastic. And today we've been playing the online multiplayer. We've been playing the actual Hot Pursuit mode. All right, describe it for us for somebody who hasn't played it.
Well, the Hot Pursuit mode is one side is the racer and the other side is the cop. You can actually decide. There's an 8-player match, and you can decide if you want to have 1 cop and 7 racers, or if you want to have 4 and 4 or whatever. I think you played 4 and 4 here today. It starts by the racers going away and the cops chasing them, and the racers have a point A to point B race where they need to reach the finish line before they get busted, basically. And then the cops will have an arsenal of weapons at their disposal to take out the racers, and the racers can have some countermeasures too in forms of weapons.
And the weapons are like spike strips, EMPs. What else you got?
Well, the cop have roadblocks, which is traditional Need for Speed, spike strips, and obviously a EMP, which will handicap the racers for a little while, and the electronics in the car will get all screwed up. And then they have a special weapon, which is the helicopter, which will come in and follow the racers and drop spike strips in front of it. The racers will have a turbo boost, which is a high kind of nitrous effect that will boost your speed significantly. They will have an EMP, they will have spike strips, and it's kind of an interesting dynamic when you play. It's like you have a limited amount of these weapons, and you have to really be careful in how you use them and when you use them. And as a racer, it's all about making sure that you avoid the cops and flee.
Okay, so you're probably keeping an eye on what other racing games are doing. What do you think of things like Blur and Split Second? Do they interest you? What kind of features do you particularly admire in them?
Split Second I played a bunch, and I really enjoyed it as a kind of pick up and play quick type of game. And I have to say that I'm looking forward to Gran Turismo, of course, even though it's delayed again, unfortunately. I think that with Need for Speed Hot Pursuit, what we have is maybe a slightly different offering. We have something that I think pushes the boundaries of what driving games have done in the past. We have with the social network as the hub, and obviously a beautiful game where you can play both racers and cops, which I think is interesting. Need for Speed Hot Pursuit coming out on PlayStation 3, Xbox 360 and PC, and on the Wii, and shipping in November in Europe.
The Beast, also known as our Epic Gaming PC, is now fully operational thanks to the mammoth case that arrived recently. Join Mark and I for the final stages of the build to see how it all came together.
Jane, he's Mark, and it's time to get your geek on with another edition of Greatest Gaming Rig, the show where we build you a hyper-powerful gaming PC and give you the chance to win it.
Now, earlier this week, a rather massive package arrived at GameSpot HQ containing the long-awaited case for our rig. We spent the better part of a week putting it all together, so let's check out what happened, time-lapse style, yo.
It was an arduous build for Mark anyway,
Yes.
but today we can finally reveal the Greatest Gaming Rig.
And here it is.
Ta-da!
Look at that, ta-da. As you can see, it's massive. We've used a custom case made from USA-based Danger Den, maker of oversized enthusiast cases. Now ours is based on the standard Tower 29 model, but with a few slight modifications here and there, which they do for everyone, but they did this especially for us as well, which is really, really cool.
The motherboard placement has been moved a few inches, raised a few inches.
It's been raised up
to accommodate our two power supplies, which you can see here at the bottom of the case. So,
So they're here,
point them out.
They're right here. So normally in the case, they're at the top. And what we've done is we put them down there so we can put two in. So there's two down there powering the entire lot, which is like super hardcore. Yes,
right.
Very, very cool.
Okay, and so there's a few cable issues.
There were a few cable issues getting this all done because they're right down there at the bottom. They're quite far away from our hard drive and our optical drive and stuff. So we had to kind of get a load of adapters and extenders to get the cables to reach all the way around the back of the case and behind there. Plus, because we wanted to keep it tidy, we didn't want cables going over the top like that. So we had to route everything around the back and use loads of sticky tape. Not sticky tape, special tape.
Definitely not sticky tape.
Definitely not just sticky tape that
Very
we used to hold
expensive tape.
Yes, yes.
And you've got a perspex panel that's a clear perspex panel.
Yeah, so a clear perspex panel is going to go across here as well, which you'll see. We've just left it off for the purposes of the fact it reflects light like anything. Yeah. So you wouldn't be able to see anything on there at all.
All right.
And next thing we did, Jane, was...
Okay, we've also switched out the fans on our Corsair water coolers for these snazzy Akasa white LED fans.
As you can see here, very nice and bright.
Which we found are noticeably quieter, but still push a lot of air. So,
they did, yeah. So we had these Corsair things, and they came with fans, but they were quite noisy. And putting these in, they've been a lot quieter, and plus they've got pretty lights in.
Would you call them whisper quiet?
I definitely wouldn't say this computer is whisper quiet by quite some way, but it's certainly a lot quieter than when we had the stock fans on. And there's 4 here at the front, and they're pushing air in, and then we've got these 2 here for exhaust. So yeah, it should stay cool, hopefully, which is very, very cool.
All right.
Now, last week we ran a set of benchmarks and a number of you have been disappointed with the results, including Gangster480, who says, "I don't understand, so those 2 processors and 3 cards can't run Crysis better than my i7 overclocked with Crossfire 5870. I find that very weird. They must have done something wrong. The 2 processors are $3,500 together. The cards are $1,500 and it can't outdo my $1,800 rig. A measly 45 frames per second for a monster like that, I was expecting it to go over 100.
Hassie94 agrees, saying, "I don't understand how a rig this amazing runs it so badly. I've seen i7s with dual 480s run Crysis at 55 FPS average when V-synced. This poor performance is coming out of nowhere."
Oh, ye of little faith out there. You think we're just going to leave it at that performance? You are very, very wrong. So, the thing about it is, the CPU performance, as you saw, the results were completely off the chart. Yes, we weren't happy with the graphics scores, but there are a number of reasons for that. We didn't do any tweaking at all when we did those tests. It was literally, we put stuff in, installed Windows and some drivers, and ran the games, and that was it. So we're going to do a bunch of tweaking, we're going to do some overclocking. There are a number of issues with some games as to how well they scale with Sly as well. So we're going to test it out. We're just running 2 cards in Sly, which we can turn off the other cards in software, which is great, and see if that affects performance. And also bear in mind that a lot of games aren't actually multi-threaded that well. So even though we have theoretically 24 cores at our disposal, most games won't use that.
But we're future-proof.
We're future-proof when they
bringing out those
actually
games.
get off their asses and start making games multi-core compatible.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly.
So we'll be overclocking, tweaking and looking into any possible bottlenecks on the next issue of the show. So rest assured, much higher scores are coming on those benchmarks.
And you can read more about the build, including some of the many issues we've had. And suffice to say, when putting this together, there were a lot of issues and screws that we've ruined and threaded and that we had to get out with pliers and things like that. But it's fine now. It will turn up to you in A1 condition. So you can head over to tinyurl.com/GSUKPCComp to find out more.
Yeah, so don't forget you have the chance to win this entire rig, complete with its mind-bending processing power and awesome accessory bundle.
All you have to do to win this amazing prize is tell us how much you think the rig would cost in total if you got all the parts at standard price. And as a tiebreaker, tell us in 50 words or less why you think you deserve it.
You can enter the competition over on the site and read more about the build on the hardware blog. Just head over to tinyurl.com/GSUKPCComp to find out more. To enter, you have to be 13 or over and a UK resident, and the competition is subject to our normal terms and conditions.
Now, we'll be back again in a few weeks' time where we're going to finish off the rig, we're going to overclock, and yes, we are going to announce a winner. It's going to look amazing-y. Remember to head over to tinyurl.com/GSUKPCComp to enter the competition and to follow the blog, and log on to facebook.com/GameSpotUK to take a peek behind the scenes of the build. Till next time, happy gaming, spotters.
Time for this week's new releases. It's Bondtastic this week with the release of both GoldenEye 007 and Bloodstone. GoldenEye, a reimagining of the classic N64 game, is an exclusive on the Nintendo Wii and DS, while the Xbox 360, PS3 and PC get Bloodstone, a third-person shooter action-adventure with racing thing. Also coming out this week,
Football Manager 2011 on PC.
The Fight Lights Out on PS3, and that's a move title, by the way.
Fist of the North Star, Ken's Rage on Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3.
Time Crisis Raising Storm on PS3.
And finally, God of War Ghost of Sparta, starring the angry man Kratos on PlayStation Portable.
Also, here's a special mention for the games and hardware that will make next week probably the biggest on this year's gaming calendar, with Call of Duty Black Ops launching on November the 9th, and with Kinect and its deluge of launch titles coming out the day after on the 10th.
Time for your feedback now. We read out the best comments on the show, so remember to get in touch with us. Among the Facebook comments on this week's show, we had our own James Day saying, "You guys should do more regular features and challenges," in reference to our Kingmaker feature a couple of weeks ago.
Meanwhile, over on the Start Select page on the site, Big Pixie says of the last show, "So Jane and Mark do know a thing or two about computers. Also, nice to see London being filmed on a bike and bus," referring to Kingmaker again.
Wait, you know things about computers?
Yes, I know many
Shocking,
things.
shocking.
Many things.
Also, the PC build, Cloud Warrior 79 commented, "The PC is coming along nicely. It will be interesting to see how noisy it is when it's all put together." Jane reading out that YouTube comment, though, shattered all my illusions about her.
Oh well. Sorry, Cloud Warrior. On to the competition. Last time on the show, we gave you the chance to win one DJ Hero 2 Party Pack on Xbox 360. The pack contains a copy of the game as well as 2 turntables and a microphone. To enter, all you had to do is name one of the new DJs that feature in the game.
Barry White's brother entered, and his name is Harry White, and said Tiesto is a new DJ in DJ Hero 2, and is absolutely correct. Congratulations, Harry, you win my favourite rhythm action game of the year so far.
And this time we're giving away my favourite rhythm action game of the year so far, 5 copies of Rock Band 3 on PS3. To win one, answer us this. How many buttons are there on the fretboard of the new Rock Band 3 Pro Guitar controller made by Mad Catz?
And here's a hint, it's not just 5, is it? It's a
quite
lot
a
more
large
than
number.
that. If you think you know the answer, send it to competitions@gamespot.co.uk before November the 16th, and we'll draw the winners on the next episode of Start Select. Thanks for dropping by and watching this episode of Start Select. We'll be bringing you another very soon. In the meantime, you can check out more Start Select goodness on your Xbox 360, with GameSpot UK videos now appearing regularly on the Inside Xbox channel.
And remember to follow GameSpot UK's Twitter feed over at GameSpot UK, and let us know what you think of the show by posting on our Facebook page at facebook.com/GameSpot UK. We crave the validation of your feedback. Really, we do.
We'll see you next time.